Hi everybody, it's Julia here, and today we're going to continue on with December Daily, day 12 to day 17, officially anyway. I'm sitting in a different location in the house. Okay, I'm sitting in a different part of the house, so I'm sorry if the sound is a bit off, but I actually have internet access here. So yeah, it's one of the fun things about living out in the country. Internet connection, not so good. Okay, so here I have the photos for day 12 and day 13, and I just printed them out using the Project Life app, so I could put two 3x4s on one 4x6. So on day 12, the main thing, or the thing I'm going to document, is that both me and my brother were home. So I don't go to school every day. We have like 2 or 3 days a week when we actually get the lectures sort of broadcasted to our town. And he had one of those days where his teacher were putting the grades, so they didn't have school. So we decided to bake. Um, so I saved this pack of saffron. I love saffron so much, and I think I have a pack of these saffron different brands in all my December dailies. I really like having them. I really like the packaging, especially this black one. It has saffron in gold, and it's a picture of a crocus, and yeah, I just really like it. So here I have a tag, and the plastic thing I pulled out was actually supposed to keep it in place. But yeah, anyway. So I really like to include that. And yeah, so I was a bit hesitant because this doesn't go with my color scheme at all. It's black, that's work, right? It's purple and it's gold, but I decided to just move on. So first I thought about this pocket page. I have made a shaker pocket, but then I decided it's not working. So I decided to go with a pocket page. I don't know what they are called these, but it has two 4x3s and one 4x6. So I'm going to put my number on the baking one. So we made saffron buns, and then we also made I don't know what you call it, biskvier, we say here in Sweden anyway. So now I'm looking for a little word sticker, and I have a few different sets. But I'm going to choose a black with silver, and it's from Tim Holtz, and it says "Joy to the World," and I'm going to put that on the saffron tag, and I think that's quite true. I mean, saffron brings just joy to the world. That and strawberries. Yeah. I have to say, this set I'm looking through right now, I don't know what it's called, but it has that sort of vintage clippings from old newspapers from Tim Holtz. I love this one. I've used it quite a lot. It has a lot of really random stuff because I think it actually is from books and newspaper and that kind of stuff. I really, really like them. So I've used them quite a lot in this album. So yeah, a little bit of a reinforcer there, and what I do is I buy really cheap reinforcers from like an office store or something, and then I just make them the way I want them. So I just sprayed these ones with tinsel, Heidi Swapp Color Shine, and I really like how they came out, and it's really easy to make more because it's just spraying with a mist. I'm adding a label from Teresa Collins. It has a really thin silver line, and just um, doing some journaling on that photo. And then I'm going to put my number, and actually putting it on the photo this time. Usually I put it on the page protector. Yeah, so this year I've used these sort of, I think they're about 1.5 inch maybe, wood veneer circle numbers, and I found them on AliExpress, and I really like them. I think they're really beautiful, but I have to say they have been a bit of a challenge to use because they have a bit of a height to them, not too much, but it still adds a bit of bulk, and it's been a bit difficult to make them stick. Well, not actually, but I use glue dots, and you have to cut the glue dots and make sure everything. But I do really like them. That was one thing that I took with me from last year, that I really wanted to have the same numbers throughout the album. And I really like these wood veneer, but they're quite big and they take a lot of real estate and a bit tricky to adhere. So yeah, so I think next year maybe I will go completely wild and do like different numbers. I think that's pretty cool too, to be able to have a number and then write the number or just stamping the number. But I really like how it looks this year. But yeah, it's been a bit difficult design-wise because they're so big. So for the journaling on this card, or on this layout, I'm using this paper. It's from the Wildflower collection by We Are Memory Keepers, came out last year. And I used this collection a lot last year too. And I really like this yellow, partly because I have yellow in the color scheme, but also because I have a pack of saffron just next to it, so I thought that was fitting. I did my journaling on my typewriter, and I just marked where the tag was going to be. And this paper was a bit too short, so it wasn't quite 4 inches. So I'm going to mat it on a different piece of paper to make the height a bit different, because on day 13 it's the journaling and I put that on the striped vellum, and that vellum is from Felicity Jane. So that will go on the next day. So you can see I'm struggling a bit about how I was going to do it, and at first I thought maybe I would just leave it as it is, but then I decided to back it. So I'm going to use this paper from Carousel collection by Create Paper Maggie Holmes, and I really like that star paper. So I'm going to use that for the 13 with the vellum, and then I'm going to put this on, and then I'm going to add some washi tape and a ribbon to cover up, the sort of, I don't know what kind of pattern that is. So here I have some silver glitter tape, and it's really pretty. This tape, however, it has a seriously bad stick, so yeah, I'm not going to put it on anything that is like outside of the pocket. It will be inside, so it can't come loose. I thought about a different metallic washi tape, and then I thought about this one, but then I decided to go with the same ribbon that I'm going to have on the tag, and it's just a striped black and white ribbon. I'm really trying to add more ribbon into my scrapbooking. I think it's really fun and having a bit of different texture, but it's really hard. So yeah, I'm going to add that into my tag here. And I really like this ribbon. This year when I made my gift wrapping presents, I used like a thick ribbon, and I usually like just use the kind of, what do you call it, present thingies that you curl with the scissors, but this time I used like a fabric ribbon. I was like, ooh, fancy. So anyway, I'm going to add some enamel dots here, some white one to add like little berries to this Prima leaf, and that is day 12. I'm going to straight over to day 13, and like I said, I'm going to use that star paper underneath the vellum, and the vellum was from Felicity Jane. And I have a photo of Viola. She was on the couch with me, and then I have a photo like looking throughout the window. So quite an easy page. I did made a slight curve in the journaling, so I could add my number on top of the journaling there. And I'm just going to add a number. I thought about using something else, but no. So it was a really quiet day. We spent most of the time on the couch. Straight over to day 14. You can saw a different. Okay, so here I had a plan. I had this really pretty paper from Prima. I had a plan of using a doily, having a circle photo, and then just like that was the design. When I came to it, I really wanted to use these papers that I sat down and I painted the other day, and I was so happy with how they turned out. I really want to use them instead. So yeah, so here I have a photo of me, and I'm going to use my die cut machine to make a circle of it. And like I've said before, so if you watch my previous December Daily videos, I talk about my process and I talk about my sort of design idea for the album. And I also mentioned that I really want to go big this year and use like pretty glossy photo paper. And I did do that on this photo. I printed it on the other side. Oh my god, I was like, but then I was like, I'm not going to reprint it, I'm just going to use it as it is. It was a big hassle and everything. So yeah, anyway. So I cut it out, and I'm going to use this paper. And yeah, so like I said, I spent one day on the 14th. I was home, didn't have school that day, so I was sitting in the studio just painting sort of the whole day, and it was so much fun. And what I did do was just making sort of pattern paper with a color scheme. I realized when I had done day 13 and day 12 that I didn't have many pattern paper left with the colors that I really wanted. So I decided to paint them. So I did that, and here's one of the papers. So what I did here is took the design idea that I had on the page, but I just transferred onto the different one. And I took a doily and I made my photo a circle, and I'm going to use that. So I didn't want to just use one-sided pattern paper. I wanted to use double-sided, and I didn't want to just stick it together. So I decided to do was stitch it. It took quite a long time, but I really like how it turned out. So I'm just going to make some holes here, and I'm going to make a blanket stitch, I think it's called, up and down, or on the upside and on the downside, using this coral color. So I get in some more stitching. I have stitching on some of my pages, but not on all. So I'm really happy I got in the colors of my color scheme. I got in the silver, I got in the stitching. So yeah, this page is not quite oh, 6 by 8. It's a bit shorter. I think it might be 5 by 8, but I sort of like that. So yeah, like I said, this page took a bit more time because of the stitching, but I really like how it turned out, and especially because it's papers that I really like. I like the colors, and I've actually painted it myself. So I have about 5 different designs that I painted, and yeah, it was really great fun, both making the designs, painting them, but then also scrapbooking with them. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm just adding some multi-matte medium glue on the knots. Oh, that's the dog. So I'm going to mark my holes with a pen if I can find one. There we go. And then a hole punch here. Da-da. Yeah, I'm just checking it works. And then here's the reinforcers I talked about before that I just sprayed with the Heidi Swapp Color Shine in Tinsel, because this year it is silver that is the metallic of choice. Okay, so here is this design. So I had planned to use a doily and then just having a circle photo on top. And I think I might reuse the idea. So you can see on the left side I have the paper I plan to use, I have the doily, and then a sketch of that. And I think I just move that back into the album and then use it later on, because I think that's kind of good when you're working on an album like this, to reuse the designs to get that kind of cohesive feel. So on this day I'd also got my Black Friday package from Felicity Jane, and I found this Joy embroidered patch, and it's really, really pretty, and I really liked how it curved with my photo, but I couldn't really feel like I could get the number in a good way with that. But it sort of fit really well. So I'm going to use it for something else. So I have my 14 there, and I'm going to add my journaling with my typewriter. So I'm going to type that, and I'm going to cut them into strips. And I decide also to, my embellishments, I'm going to use stars. So I have a huge, a lot of them, gray felt stars and also silver glitter ones, and I'm using them throughout the album, really loving them. So here we can see I have pressed the 14 while I was doing my journaling, and I have that here. So I'm just going to cut them into strips. And my typewriter is an old one, and it sort of has a bit of a feeling of its own. It does a bit what it wants to do. So sometimes it looks, the letters, even if you write one word, the letters sort of jump. It doesn't really matter. I think it's sort of charming. It is a bit hard to read, but I like it. So here I'm just going to cut the journaling into strips. And while I'm putting these down, it takes a bit of a long time, so I can read you the journaling if you want to. So I'm writing that it was a long time since I was in the studio. It was so nice to go out. and that I really want to feel the joy in painting, and it's hard when you don't have inspiration and have a lot of pain. But it was wonderful to get out and get it going again. So for those who don't know, I have fibromyalgia, and this week that we are on now, so 12, 13, 14, the weather changed a lot. So it was +1, it was -2, and it was 0, and it was snowing, and it was raining, and it was awful. So for me, the weather changing is like, it's really hard. And one of the things that really affects me is my hands get really sore, and it's not fun. It's not fun painting when your hands, when they're really sore. And yeah, I mean, I have a lot of other paints too, but my hands, I feel, because I'm a pretty crafty person and I like working with my hands, it's really rough. So yeah, somebody is snoring. All the dogs are around me, so they are sleeping while I'm doing this voiceover. So yeah, it's been a really rough time, and usually I don't really get depressed when I'm in pain, but I don't feel like really motivated and really happy when I'm in pain. So, and I really want to feel happy when I'm painting. So that is what I'm trying to talk about. I wanted to add a title, and I feel like it was a bit odd space there, and I didn't want to add the wood veneer because I had the wood veneer number and I thought that was a bit too much. So I decided to go through and look at my thicker box. Soon I decide anyway. And I'm going to look through here, and I found, first I found these, but then I found a pack of Amy Tan, and I found this one that says right now, and I thought that was just so perfect. This is exactly what's happening right now. And just as it happens, it fit perfectly, so that sort of odd space sort of isn't anymore. Did you fart? Mike and she just farted. Huh. I don't think she knows she's still asleep. Okay, so that just fitted perfectly there, and I really like it. I do wish my photo was had a bit more intensive black, but since it's printed on the wrong side, I can only blame myself. It was stupid. Anyway, moving on. Turning the page. So there we have it. And then I decided to put that joy thing on the other side, but we'll come to that later. So we are on day 15, and I decided to go with the 4x6 and 2 4x3. Had to think about that for a moment. So this day I wrapped the presents, and I had quite a lot to journal about. So what I did was adding my journaling on the computer, or actually in the Rona design app, and then just printed that onto the photo. With the photo, sorry, gosh. Okay, so here I decided to use another piece of the papers that I painted. Here I used the other floral that I had made, and I'm going to cut it so that I can flip it or fold it. So 3x8 sort of. So I want this to flip up. You can see here. Ta-da! Very cool. So I'm going to add my journaling and my second photo on this little flap on the other side. And I'm going to make the other one into a shaker pocket. So I'm going to trim this down a little bit. If I had thought about it, I would make this flip pocket, I would make the part that is in the pocket about half a centimeter longer, because now it doesn't quite reach inside the pocket fully. You can see it there. It doesn't really matter, but yeah, it's one of those you notice it after. So yeah. So in there I have the photo of me sort of wrapping, or in the midst of wrapping, and then a lot of journaling, and then the big photo, I have all the presents wrapped, and like I said before, I'm quite happy with how they looked. So they are wrapped in craft, silver, and then black and white striped paper. The ribbon is like, yeah, you can see it there. It's that checkered buffalo, whatever you call it, that kind of ribbon. And the tags are like very handmade brush script. There are silver glitter paint all over it, and yeah. So yeah, I talk about that in the journaling because I'm still a student, I don't have that much money to buy Christmas presents for, especially after Black Friday. But anyway, so I like to spend a bit more time and effort on the tags and on the wrapping to make them really special that way. And yeah, and then I also talk about what I bought for everybody. So that is why I'm not reading the journaling. So yeah, like I said, I'm going to make that other pocket into shaker pockets. I'm going to use some sequins from Felicity Jane from Black Friday. I got them in silver little sequin stars, and then some felt stars I cut out, and then acrylic word from Pretty Little Studios as Wish. And I really like the idea of this pocket, but when I look through it now, I mean, you can see the word, but the sequence doesn't mix with the felt just lays on top of it, and yeah. Anyway, moving on, sort of thing. I'm going to add some red line tape on this 15, and if I had actually used my brain here, I would just use some multi-matte medium, because this number is going to be on top of the paper, so I can use a glue. Anyway, I don't know what happened there. So I'm going to do that, and I'm pulling out two small stars from that same acrylic set by Pretty Little Studio. So the word is wish, and I thought that was kind of fitting with wrapping the presents. And here is that ribbon I was talking about. That's the only piece I have left from wrapping the presents. And I decided I wanted to have something on this tag, and I thought about making a tab, but they're quite big, and then I decided just to use this ribbon and just staple it, and I think that was quite nice to get that little touch in there. I have seen really cute designs with this sort of theme with the wrapping presents when they take photos of the rolls and they take little like samples and putting them together. I think that's really cute, but I think I did that last year, maybe even the year before too, but this time I just took some photos. And yeah, but I did make sure that the gift wrapping it actually sort of coordinates with this year with the colors, black and white and silver. Yeah, you know how it is. Okay, moving on to day 16 is going to be really, really easy. So what I decided to do here is print the photos together. So I have the photo and then the journaling, and I made a wreath, and in that wreath I will just put the number. So I'm really happy with that. So on this day, really, really short, we celebrated my cousin. She turned 18, gosh, in the week, and then she took her driver's license the day after. So I just wrote about that and how proud I was over her, or am, obviously. So that was a really easy page because I had the shaker pockets. I didn't want to mess with that, and then I had the floral paper. I have the painted on the other side still. I didn't want to mess with that. I think that's really pretty. So just a photo of her blowing out her candles, and then the wreath where I can put the photo or the number. So yeah. Here is day 17. I'm starting to work on that already, and that is the first colored photo in the album. And I was a bit hesitant, I have to say. When I decide to do something, I'm very much like, this is how it's going to be, it's a rule, I'm going to keep with it. But I have made this project with painting wood discs with the 12 Days of Christmas motif, and I really want to have it in the album, and I wanted it to see it, so I decided it was okay. So yeah, so here you can see finishing up the day 16, just adding the number, and I have it on outside the pocket. I do like to do that as much as I can to get a bit of texture. We're going to get a bit more texture in between these, but still. So I think this is the easiest way and the best way with the wood veneers is to use the glue dots, just cut them into strips. So yeah, short journaling. I really like this sort of wreath thing. It frames the numbers quite nicely. And then I wanted to do something else on that top left card, and I'm thinking about a present, and then I decide to go with the epoxy sticker and then just a wood strip, wood word, wood sticker? Word, gosh, it's too long video for me, definitely. Okay, moving on, Julia, focusing. Okay, so I decided to do is adding this epoxy sticker because the colors match perfectly. So I'm going to do that, and then it just says make a wish. And I think that's really nice because she's blowing out candles, but also in the shaker pockets we have the word wish. So I think that goes really well together. On this page, like I said, the first colored photo, and I'm going to add the a chipboard phrase from Jim Olsen. It says limited edition. I thought that was quite perfect, and I've used some of that before in the album. Day 17 here, I'm going to make it quite simple actually. So this paper has that sort of wood grain texture on one side, so I didn't want to journal on that side. But here I have some of that flowers. So these flowers are from the Prima peppermint collection, or sweet peppermint, and that is what inspired the whole color scheme for this year. So I'm sort of adding these flowers slowly into the album. Yeah, and here are the numbers. So the only difference with these numbers is that the Advent numbers, so the Sunday numbers, when we celebrate Advent, I embossed them with a aged silver embossing powder, and just to sort of notify, like to signify this is Advent, because on each Sunday we light a candle, and I just wanted to make that sort of special without having to write that this is an Advent. Adding some strips from that sort of newspaper clipping things, and I added joyous anticipation, the Christmas spirit, and deck the halls. And I thought it was kind of fitting about with painting the ornaments. And on the other side, I added Christmas finery, and it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. And then I just wrote about that this weekend's project was painting these little ornaments. So I'm going to add the journaling, and then that is that. Here is a bit of a close-up. So on this vellum it actually has some glitter on the berries. I don't know if you can see. Maybe not. But yeah, so that is this week. I cannot talk anymore. But I'm really happy with how this album is turning out. I'm really liking the colors, and I'm liking the black and white photos. Day 18 I'm sort of having done, sort of not. I have not really decided, but the last pages in this clip will be that. So here you can see the shaker pocket, day 16, really simple, really like that. Having some texture on this tag is really nice among all the plastic. And then you can see here when I'm flipping that I took out the watercolor and that actually put in a big photo with some really old Christmas stamps. So yeah, that is it. We have some stills coming up. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've liked this process. I really enjoy making this and watching everybody else's process video. I think it's so much fun. Until we see each other next time, which I hope will be when I actually finish this album, have a really great Christmas.